Join us on this 8 miles kayak from Angle to Freshwater West on the Pembrokeshire coast on the 26th of May 2023. Watch on for cinematic footage of our trip along this magical part of the Wales coast, including the historic village of Angle and the yacht-lined East Angle Bay, the old Point House, alleged former haunt of famous pirates and smugglers, the Napoleonic forts which guarded the lower Milford Haven waterway, the stunning beaches at West Angle Bay and Freshwater West, and finally what happened when we skirted down the edge of the Castlemartin military firing range zone towards the end of our route. This 8-mile route took us from Angle out onto Milford Haven, then around the coast to West Angle Bay. After our lunch stop, we continued down the coast to the long golden beach at Freshwater West. It's about 11:15 in the morning. We're at Freshwater West. Archie's left his vehicle here in the car park at Freshwater West. We're going to take my vehicle now up to Angle and then kayak about 8 miles back to here. I've parked up on the side of the track going down to the old Point House at Angle, so we're going to launch here onto East Angle Bay. It's about 12:15 and we've just launched onto East Angle Bay. We're going to paddle back towards the village of Angle and then turn around and go back out onto the Milford Haven waterway. We're just doing a quick circuit of this end of East Angle Bay before we head out onto the waterway. That's looking back towards the village of Angle over there. Loads of boats moored up. We're going to turn around now and head back out of Angle Bay into the Milford Haven and hopefully not collide with any yachts on the way out. We turned around and began paddling back past the quaint village of Angle, which is clustered around the 14th century St Mary's Church. Many medieval buildings survive in the village, and it has a fine medieval fortified residence in the Tower House. We headed out towards Angle Point, passing where we launched from earlier on the left. We can assure you that the fact that there are two great pubs in Angle, namely the Hibernia Inn and the old Point House, had nothing at all to do with us choosing Angle as a launch point. When the tide is low, a lot of East Angle Bay becomes mudflats. You therefore probably need to launch or land there within 3 hours either side of high tide, since otherwise you may have problems trying to get onto or off the water due to the mud. We paddle past the historic Old Point House. It is widely claimed that the Old Point House dates back to the 16th century and was the haunt of pirates and smugglers. Looks like one of them still likes to drink there, from the inset video footage taken later that evening when we called there for a beer and some food. We neared Angle Point, where we would be entering the Milford Haven waterway, a deep and wide natural harbour. There are lots of terminals lining the lower haven, which serve the oil refineries at Milford Haven and Pembroke. It was hard to port as we rounded Angle Point and swung left down the coast. It was about an hour after high tide, so we hoped for some assistance from the outgoing tide to take us down the haven. Angle Coast Guard Station loomed into view on the left. Hopefully we wouldn't be requiring their services today. Angle Lifeboat Station was first opened in 1868 after a request from a local coast guard for a lifeboat station to be opened within the Milford Haven waterway. We took the opportunity to have a quick rest and film a quick panorama of the Milford Haven waterway. South Hook Terminal over on the other side of the haven is the largest liquefied natural gas terminal in Europe. Upstream, the town of Milford Haven was founded in 1790, originally intended to be a whaling centre. It subsequently developed as a naval dockyard. The huge Valero oil refinery dominates the eastern end of Angle Bay. Finally, we swing back towards Angle, where we launched from earlier. We've just passed Angle Lifeboat Station as we head down the Milford Haven. You can see the lifeboat over there. They must have heard that the kayak crew were out today and they've got themselves on standby ready. Over there you can see Stackrock Fort in the middle of the haven, one of the number of Napoleonic era forts built to protect the waterway. We're just passing underneath Chapel Bay Fort, which is up on the headland there above those trees. It was built in the 1800s and is today a museum that you can visit. We're looking across the other side of the Milford Haven towards Dale and St Anne's Head, which is the peninsula at the northern end of the Milford Haven. As we paddle towards the southern end of the mouth of Milford Haven, you can see another Napoleonic fort coming up at Thorn Island. We paddle past another Napoleonic fort at Thorn Island. The fort was built in the 1850s to house gun batteries due to concerns about a potential invasion by the French. There are rumours that after Brexit they might be reinstalling the gun batteries into the fort. We fortunately managed to evade a lot of barnacle-covered rocks under the water, which if we'd collided with them, might have otherwise turned our kayak into an inflatable version of the Titanic. Apparently the sailing ship Loch Shiel sank near here in 1894 with a cargo that included 7,000 cases of whisky. Despite searching for a while, we couldn't find any of the cases of whisky and had to press on. We were now just over a quarter of the way along the 8 miles route as we paddled on towards West Angle Bay. We skirted past more rocks under the surface and wondered if we had come across Pembrokeshire's answer to the Great Barrier Reef. On the Milford Haven waterway and Cleddau estuary, the tide runs east to west when it's going out, and it runs west to east when it's coming in. Therefore, if you're paddling this route from Angle to Freshwater, we'd suggest doing it with the outgoing tide. Conversely, if you're paddling from Freshwater West to Angle, then we'd suggest paddling it with the incoming tide. We prefer doing one-way linear kayaks so we can cover more distance and it avoids having to double back and cover the same terrain on the return trip. We left a vehicle at either end of this route, but if you only had one vehicle, then bus 387 and 388 runs between West Angle Bay and Freshwater West. It was about 2 PM as we came into West Angle Bay for a lunch and cider stop. Well, we've stopped at West Angle Bay for the highlight of our trip, which is the lunch and cider stop. There's a nice beach here with parking and facilities. We're back on the water feeling refreshed after our lunch stop, looking across there towards St Anne's Head. That's where Mill Bay is, where Henry Tudor landed in 1485 on his way to Bosworth. The sea is more choppier here as we head down the coast. We have been out in a lot worse though, so we're not too worried. Just looking back towards the blockhouse on Lowry's Rock. As we quickly pan down the coast, there's some amazing cliffs here. Looking to the south now, down towards a headland that is called Sheep Island according to the map. We were hoping to cut the corner off by paddling through that channel between the mainland and Sheep Island, but unfortunately the tide has dropped too low to get through, so we're going to have to go around the headland instead. See the Pembroke to Rosslare ferry heading out to sea over there, on its way across to Ireland. We're just coming around the end of Sheep Island. We didn't see any sheep there, by the way. So we're looking down the coast now. There's a great view all the way down towards Linney Head. This 8 miles paddle on the Pembrokeshire coast was part of our undertaking to kayak all of the 870 miles or so around the entire Wales coast. We're making quite good progress now because the wind is coming from the north behind us, about 2/3 of the way along the route, and you can see down there Freshwater West in the distance. As always, when we go on the sea, we check the sea conditions in advance using surfforecast.com to make sure that the sea wouldn't be dangerously rough for us. It's coming up to 4:30 PM as we start to approach Freshwater West. We're going to have to land down the southern end of the beach because that's where the car park is. The final twist to this story is that we may unwittingly have strayed into the edge of the Castlemartin firing range sea danger area. As shown on this map, it extends to Little Furze Nip on the southern end of Freshwater West Beach. The extent of it is shown as being a danger area marked by the red chevrons on OS maps. Fortunately, our kayak was not used as target practice by the military, which is never a good way to end a trip. We had a run-in with one of the range safety boats on a subsequent trip when we goofed up down near the other end of the firing range zone, down by St Govan's Head. If you plan to paddle on the sea near any firing ranges, then check if they are operating on the website before you go. While we think our kayak may be able to withstand some light small arms fire, a direct hit from a battle tank may do it some damage. While the sea was not rough at Freshwater West, we could see breakers crashing onto the shore, so we made sure that our dry bags and everything else were securely tethered down to the kayak in case we flipped as we landed. If you enjoyed this video, then please give us a thumbs up and consider clicking on the left below to subscribe to our channel to get updates of our trip reports, product review videos and our kayaking guides. Click on the right below to be taken to our playlist of other videos of our paddles around the Wales coast. Please check out our website link below for our blogs and other super useful information. Happy paddling from the kayak crew.